Thanks, Jerry, and thank you to Vertical Events for the opportunity to present today. And thanks to Tony for giving us a quick plug. We do also have one of the world's highest grade cobalt gold projects. Originally, I wrote that we did have the highest grade cobalt gold project, and then Tony also hit similar grades to us, and so I had to change my title. But it's a little bit unfair that we present together, because it is actually very unusual to see these sorts of grades, and I'll go into more detail on that. So we recently announced our first drill hole at Little Gem, and we had intercepts of 3% cobalt and 44 grams per tonne gold, very similar to Azure. This deposit is located in British Columbia in Canada. So we're in a world-class mining jurisdiction. We're 15 kilometres along strike from a historic gold mining region that has produced 4.4 million ounces at 18 grams per tonne. We've also got analogies to the similar geology to what we see in the Bilwazir district of Morocco, and we'll go into more detail on that. But we're at Little Gem. We're the first to be looking for cobalt, and in what is a historic gold mining region. In Australia, we're at the Silver Swan South project. We're looking for nickel sulfides and gold. We had some really early success earlier in the year, and we're waiting assays on our second phase air core program there with some really interesting nickel sulfide and gold potential. At the Redgate project, we're just to the north of Saracen's porphyry open pit mine, and we're looking for gold also. And the third Australian project is the Middle Creek project in the Pilbara, where we're very close to Millennium Minerals. So this is a quick snapshot of the corporate structure. Remembering Blackstone's just over 12 months ago listed on the ASX at 20 cents. We've now got 86.7 million shares on issue, a very tight capital structure. Board and management own 24% of the register, and the Little Gem vendors also own 20%, and so a very, very tight capital structure. We did a capital raising late last year and raised $5 million, so we've got good cash position, just over $5 million, and a market cap of around $36 million yesterday. You can see that the share price graph has really started to move since we acquired the Little Gem cobalt gold project. A very experienced board of directors. Hamish Halliday, non-exec chairman, was the founder of Adamas, which a very big gold discovery in West Africa, which ended up becoming taken over by Endeavour Mining, and was, I think, still mining today. So also Steve Parsons, founder of Griffin Minerals, which became taken over by Teranga, and will be a mine also. So a good board of directors with history of major discoveries and corporate success. You can see Bruce McFadden also. He's currently the MD of Sheffield, which is a mineral sands play, and also had some great success with Catalpa, and which ended up becoming Evolution. So a great board of directors to sort of take these projects forward and make some more major discoveries and potentially some further corporate success in the future. So this is a rock that we've taken from the Little Gem project. As you can see, 6% cobalt and 46 grams per tonne gold. I suppose the key to this is we've got some excellent infrastructure. It's an old historic gold mining region, so we have the Braylorn mine, 15 kilometres under care and maintenance. So there is skilled labour and underground mining expertise in the region. Little Gem was actually discovered in the 1930s. We believe they were looking for more of the gold in the system, and it's the cobalt was probably the reason why they've sort of left the Little Gem behind, and haven't really tested the full potential of the geology. So yeah, as you can see, the Braylorn district has produced 4.4 million ounces at 18 grams per tonne. So it's a very high grade gold system and hasn't been explored for base metals. So we were the first explorers that have looked for the cobalt and the base metal potential of this region. We also have other targets outside of the Little Gem. Roxy and Jewel are copper gold targets that we'll also test in the next drill season. So this was our first hole that we signed the deal late last year, sort of September, October. We were drilling almost to the day we inked the deal. We got a drill hole into it just before the snow settled in. Unfortunately, we didn't get entirely through the target zone, but we did get a great intercept, and you can see there sort of over the broader intercept, 1% cobalt at 15 grams per tonne over 4.3 metres and 3% cobalt and 44 grams per tonne gold over the high-grade section. So we have a massive sulphide with also disseminated zones. The disseminated broader halo of the disseminated zones up to 10 to 20 metres wide. The massive sulphide zones are the narrow, high-grade, sort of 2 to 3 metre wide zones. We think if we had have continued that hole, it would have intersected a similar sort of mineralisation on the second half of that target zone. You can sort of see that in this cross section. So yeah, a great intercept. Unfortunately, the hole was abandoned due to mechanical issues with the drill rig. We're currently talking to drilling contractors, and we're looking to get back on the hill in Q2 and potentially hit more of this very high-grade cobalt gold mineralisation. So this is a plan view of the Little Gem. You can sort of see we've got a 300-metre strike extent along surface mapped out. You can just see in the middle there the adits from the 1930s and 50s have really only tested about a 50-metre sort of zone of that entire 300 metres of strike. Yeah, we will test that entire strike in our first program. So here's some of the historic results, and I think the key to our first hole is it confirmed our historic data. So you can see through the massive sulphide zones we're getting sort of 3 to 6% cobalt and sort of 30 to 50 grams per tonne gold, and the disseminated zones are still carrying very, very good cobalt, sort of a half to 1% cobalt and still very good grade gold in the disseminated zones. And this is the sort of thing we're seeing in our first drill hole, is that sort of disseminated and massive sort of blending. Once the guys sealed the deal, we did a bit of research and tried to understand, okay, this is a very unusual mix of commodities here. We've got the cobalt with the gold, and I must reiterate, this is very unusual, and the fact that we've got two presentations after one another showing very similar types of grades is very unusual. So what we've found is that in Morocco, the Bouazir district have actually been mining primary cobalt very similar to what we're seeing for the last 75 years. So they've mined cobalt for 75 years, very high grades. Their current head grade is about 1.3% cobalt. They've also got very high grade gold. And what we've seen is we have exactly the same geological setting. We have the contact of the serpentinized ultramafic and the quartz diorite is where their deposits line up, and we think we have a very similar setting at Little Gem. And once we realised this analogy, we went and pegged the entire belt where that particular geological setting occurs, and we now have 48 kilometres of strike extent. So we quadrupled our strike extent potential overnight, and we now have a large footprint in this belt. And luckily, our friends over on the other side of Canada haven't realised, and they're still looking around the town of Cobalt, which is a different geology. And at this stage, we're on our own over in BC. So this is just a plan view of the Moroccan, the Bouazia district, and the square or the rectangle is the cobalt, the high cobalt sort of region, up to sort of 100 kilometres of strike potential. There's also multiple deposits. There's 50 different deposits throughout this system. You've got a mix of base metals and precious metals, and we think we might be onto a similar type of system over in Canada. I used to be a mining analyst, so I had to put my analyst hat on and build a bit of a graph. Similar to Tony's, I've used in situ value per tonne. I probably should update Tony's. It probably hasn't got his latest hit in there, but that's so basically we're looking at more than $3,000 per tonne based on a weighted average grade of our entire data set. And I did a similar thing for our peers that don't have resources yet. I sort of grabbed a weighted average grade of each of our peers' data set and we've built that in situ value per tonne measure. I think it's important that people think about in situ value per tonne when they're looking at cobalt stocks. So this is a large list of peers, and I think I now have 70 cobalt stocks on my watch list. This is the top half of those. We're at the bottom half of that. But I think it's important that we understand that 97% of the world's cobalt is a byproduct of nickel or copper. We're looking for primary cobalt, and the only other mining region in the world where primary cobalt occurs is in Morocco, and they are the only primary cobalt mine active at the moment. So just to the Australian projects, the company was listed on the Australian projects 12 months ago, and they're all great assets in their own right. Unfortunately, the focus has sort of moved towards the cobalt because of the battery minerals, but we really believe in all three of these Australian assets, and they're all great Australian, gold and nickel exploration assets in their own right. So this is the Silver Swan's South project. So we're looking for nickel sulphide and gold. We're on the extension of the Fitzroy Shear Zone, which hosts the Kanowna Belle mine. So we're just 8 kilometres along strike of which one of the Australia's biggest and better gold mine, underground gold mines. We're also to the south, 10 kilometres to the south of Silver Swan, which was a 9.5% nickel head grade, one of Australia's most prolific nickel mines. We're in the ultramafic unit. We have anomalous gold and some really interesting gold intercepts to follow up on, but also nickel, copper, PGE anomalism. This is the right setting for nickel sulphides, but also potential for a major gold discovery. We're waiting on assays, and we're excited to potentially announce some assays in the next few weeks on this region, and it's interesting because this project could go either way, whether it ends up being a gold or a nickel sulphide discovery. Only time will tell. We're also, the Redgate project is just to the north of Saracen's Porphyry. Porphyry was a fairly low grade open pit bulk tonnage scenario. We think we have more of a higher grade sort of porphyry system to the north. We've got some great intercepts there, 12 at 9.2 and so 10 at 8.5 to follow up on. So this ground is strategically placed, I suppose, amongst many hungry mills and many mid to large cap gold producers that would be very, very happy to take sort of any sort of open pit type material around the 2 to 3 gram per tonne grade if we were to find some. Sorry. And just our last project, we're up at near Millennium's Nullagine project, and we're looking for quartz vein hosted gold. We don't think there's too much conglomerate potential on our ground, but we will also have a look for that. But we've got a 1.6 kilometre soil anomaly to test and just systematically work through that process. So just in summary, we are exploring one of the highest grade cobalt projects in the world. We're in a world-class mining jurisdiction in British Columbia, where the initial hole has confirmed that we're talking about very high grades in the order of 3% cobalt and sort of 20 plus grams per tonne gold. And we are the first person and the first team to actually explore for cobalt in this district and base metals potential of this region. And particularly because we like this analogy with the Bouazia cobalt district in Morocco. And the Australian assets will keep the news flow going. We've got some great news flow coming, hopefully from Silver Swan South in the near term. But it's all about getting back on the ground at Little Gem in Q2 to really generate that hype again. And a proven track record of discovery and corporate success from the team and the board of directors. Thank you for your time.